we can start. You wanted to dance, but this is okay. So welcome to GeeCON. Should be fun, as always. Last time in Prague, Lucas told me I showed too many slides, and the impact is it was cancelled now. So I try, he told me. So now today I will show you a little bit less slides and more code. Code can break, so you should help me if I write something which is no more Java, right? So some, ADA or Turbo Pascal syntax. So, someone after my talk came to me and say, hey, you are working for the company called AirHacks, which is not true. There's no company, it's just a website. And I got the idea, and right after the talk, I registered AirHacks Industries website. If you go there, it just links to GitHub, to Twitter, and to YouTube. So I never worked, but just fun with Java. And I also have a podcast, AirHacks FM, and one was interesting. This is somehow related to this talk with Kelsey Hightower of Kubernetes. So with that chat, how Kubernetes was meant, and he said, okay, it was never meant to write YAML and use it directly. It was more like a platform of building platforms, which was interesting. And I also invited Lucas to my podcast. He said, no, I'm not. He's too shy. So I recorded with him today a short on my YouTube channel. So you will see also the shorts with the organizers if you're interested, what they are actually doing. You have any questions left? You are shy. I recognize that. You can the first Monday of the month, I'm answering all the questions from GitHub Gist. So if you have any questions, it can be a topic, so we can talk about that. This is always fun. Okay, and what's interesting, I already recorded 500 shorts, which is crazy. So I do this daily, just for fun. Not daily. I do this once a month. I record 30 shorts with ideas, but it's just 1 minute, so it's not a problem. But it's getting more and more popular, and it's just fun for me. So from scratch with Java, so you can achieve a lot in 60 seconds or less with Java without anything, just, Visual Studio Code and the compiler. And okay, there are some workshops if you like to attend. And I started with Java at the very beginning, and we were forced to do everything, set up the server. Sometimes later, 2-3 years later, they took away the server from us, so we were serverless. So we only had, to push the wars and ears to production via FTP and later via API. Clouds, what's my opinion about clouds? This is more or less a disclaimer. What I really like is this machine. This was Sun E10K, cost 1 million. This is less powerful than my watch, I guess, right now. But what I really wanted to do is to buy the enclosure to store my clothes inside. But it was 2,000 euros, no kidding. It was like 10 years ago. But I was almost about to do that. So this machine is normal. I think now it's even more expensive. It was based on a Cray, but this is cool. You know that? Have no relation to the company's Oxide. You can buy the machine if you have a private data center and run workloads on that. So my opinion is, if you're happy with private data centers, don't go to the clouds, because it is not always better to run something in public clouds. You have to have reasons to do it. What I always see, people go to the cloud, they have no idea why. And this is, and what happens then? Yeah, it gets more expensive, but it doesn't get better. So I'm assuming that you have to go to the cloud, and this is what the talk is about, more or less. So Java and clouds. So I was actually serious. You see, there is a C, Rust, C++, and ADA, and they are more energy efficient than Java. Python is 35 times worse than Java from the energy efficiency, and also from performance perspective. So this is why I didn't even ask whether you would use Python instead of Java, because it's ridiculous, right? So Java is the way to go. So I asked more reasonable languages like ADA. So what it means is, what I do in public clouds, I only use Java because the first time in the history, we can actually prove to management that we can save money with Java. And because management cares about money, this is why I'm doing Java all the time, and it's also the reason why I never spend more than 5 hours at a conference, because I actually have to work. So this is the performance or energy efficiency, and this is the CPU, which is closely related. Both is cool. What Java doesn't do that great is memory. So with memory, Java consumes more memory than Pascal, Go, or C. By the way, what's interesting, even Go is more consumes more energy than Java, which is interesting. So wouldn't suspect that. So from RAM perspective, Java doesn't do that great. With GraalVM, you can improve the situation, but we don't do this. Why not? As motivation, this is a general setup we are doing. This is a Lambda as a motivation. If you will ship what I will code and hopefully will work in a few minutes, and you will get 2 transactions per second the entire month, you will roughly pay 10 euros a month for the entire thing. This is the motivation. So this makes only sense if you would like to save money. If you don't care about your budget, forget what I'm doing here, because you can just buy the biggest EC2 machine on AWS or a virtual machine on Azure and deploy whatever you like. It doesn't make any sense what I talk about, right? So it's not like it is nice what I'm showing you. It is cheap, cost-driven architecture. So this is a disclaimer. Okay, and what you see here, I'm shipping here, I'm assuming we will need 2 gigs of RAM. Why that? Because with 1,769 megs of RAM, you get 1 CPU. And with 1 CPU, Java works or is the fastest option. Fastest option means it's a good trade-off between costs and performance. If you ship Java with 128 megs, no problem at all. But this is going to be a way slower. So the ratio between the slowness and RAM is worse. So you will actually pay more money because you are paying in serverless for gigabyte second. So this is for the ratio, right? Everyone agreed? So and already this slide allowed me to get new interesting projects, because if I walk in, it's like, look, we can build something which costs you 15 euro a month, and the project is bigger, we are in, right? If you would ship a Kubernetes, only the control plane without worker nodes costs you roughly 100 euros without any workload. Okay? This is just the Kubernetes control plane, VPCs, additional 40 euros. The cool story here, what we also get with it, you can have your own production-like environment pro developer for free. And you cannot have this with EC2s, Dockers, or Kubernetes. Okay? Still no questions? Everyone agreed? Lucas is very good, especially in Turbo Pascal. Lucas is this exactly. So this is the slide I created before the show. What I show you, it makes only sense if we get less traffic than YouTube, Twitter, or TikTok, right? Because the more traffic we get, the more expensive serverless becomes. So in one point of time, if you are Snapchat, for instance, they're running own Kubernetes custom thing, because you can save money if you have high traffic. But in my projects, there are boring enterprise projects. People are working from 8 to 5 at night, nothing happens. Weekends, nothing happens. There are vacations. In such environment, in serverless, sometimes they don't even pay anything because they are below the free tier. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. Cost-driven architectures, it means costs matter. I was in projects that told me they don't care because it runs in another country. They can do whatever they like, so then this talk doesn't make any sense at all, because why you should be cost-effective if you have unlimited budget. And you have good reasons to use public cloud. If you don't have good reasons to use public cloud, go back to your data center. This is always better. So this is my personal opinion. So, run OpenShift or Rancher on Kubernetes in a private data center. Kubernetes is golden in private data center. In my opinion, Kubernetes makes less sense, far less sense in public cloud. Okay? Cool. Slides don't crash. This is my problem, so I have to start coding now. Let's see whether it will work. So I need terminal. And I need Copilot glasses. Otherwise, I already started with S2, which is a very bad sign. So S3 LS, let's see. So cloud is working. And now what I would like to do is Quarkus create AIHacks. This is a CLI. What I plan to do is to start a regular Quarkus project and then move it as serverless Lambda. This is the idea. And we are in Krakow. In Prague, people were crazy about the Krytek. You know who Krytek is? No one? No domain experts. So Krytek is like a Czech figure, a small black guy, can I tell it? Yeah, black. How it's called? Okay, this guy. Black guy with red nose, but don't take me wrong. I mean, this is politically correct. I don't know how to express it. He has also, it is it is an animal, right? It's a small one. Okay. And how it's called? Loud? And Miska, well, this was his girlfriend or something like this, right? So so we have, and now in Krakow we need the smog. right? So this is also, but no one is excited about the smog, but Kritek, everyone was crazy about him. So now, oh yeah, it happens once a day. So the smog is there. And open the Dragon was another movie also. Enter the Dragon, I think. So what we can do is, or we should do one point of time, run something. So Quarkus dev. So I run now Quarkus in dev mode, and I will do it later again. So what happened is it created a stock Quarkus Docker. I say Dockerless, right? So this is the Dockerless, means no Docker, and unit testless. Also, who cares about that? I cannot delete that. What's here is it. I usually use the command line. So, and this is a Jakarta application. So what I do for 20 years. So in the last 3 years, I only have to replace JavaX with Jakarta. This was my migration project, but it was actually a good job, right? So you get migration projects and you replace one word. So so now everyone was obsessed that this is not portable. It's okay, cool. So now I create Greeter Java. And because it's Lambda, it has to be application scoped. I would like to do the full micro profile. In Quarkus, you could omit the inject. And if you like to learn more about Quarkus, there's one in the, who is it? Where is the Quarkus guy? He will talk after me, I think. So about Quarkus, I can ask questions, whatever I like. Message and the smog. Specific name? What? Okay, let's call him Smog. So then this is a message. Then a message or Dragon for the international audience. We have people from Brazil as well. So Smog is Dragon, and you can visit him. There's a statue in the castle, right? So and even with some fire. Message and maybe some dynamic behavior here with, of course, our old system current time millis. So I only need that you see that something happens here. And what I would like to do is to inject now the greeter, inject the greeter, and then I use it here. This greeter. And what was it? Message. This was not nicely named, but maybe it works. So switch to here, and not here, actually to here. And I even prepare here a bookmark. And hello. Beautiful. So smoke with some number. So this was the entire effort, right? Now, it runs as a Quarkus. The Quarkus has nothing to do with AWS, nothing to do with Lambda. It's just a stock application, and I don't need the rest. I should as well, so I will just delete it. I never use that, so this is like this. Okay. Now, we can keep it running, but it's actually not required. I will launch it later. And you can ask questions at any time. If there's a question, interrupt me and read the question maybe, because I will spend the time in the code. So now, Maven package. So if I do the package, something happened in target. So in target, I get Quarkus app and Quarkus run here. So I can now run it with target, Quarkus app, and Quarkus run. So it starts this way, right? The application. So okay, now let's make a Lambda out of that. For this reason, I need a dependency. And IO Quarkus is the extension. And the artifact ID is Amazon HTTP, I guess. This is HTTP, Amazon Lambda HTTP. So, and now, always, yeah, always. So now watch here, this area, this target area. So Maven, clean, package. So if there are Maven committers here, they tell me, don't use clean, but this is now for, for educational purposes, so I never use clean usually. So now run it. And what we see, we got function.zip, which can be deployed as Lambda, right? So what I can do, I can run now still Quarkus as Quarkus locally. So it will start, hopefully. And it works. But I have the function zip here. So what happened is I created a deployable. Well, if you open it, there is like one generic Lambda and a lot of bytecode, right? But I can ship it as Lambda right now. OK. This is the first question, how you do it. So what it means is, in my projects, we call it not like single-purpose Lambda. The opposite is my pattern. We have the biggest, fattest, monolithic Lambdas you can properly get. With Quarkus, it's not an issue. So we have hundreds of classes. We package it in one Lambda. Quarkus optimizes the bytecode, and it's actually fast enough. We can save money. So we are misusing AWS Lambda, let's say, as Docker, without Docker. OK? Now let's deploy the thing to cloud. So for this purpose, what I did at the conference is a little bit dangerous because I make it prettier yesterday, which is not always a good idea. So I created something which I don't use usually in my projects. What I use in my projects, I'll show you in a second. In my projects, I'm using the Quarkus Lambda CDK plane. I don't like to use it right now because everything is already ready to use. There is a prepared Quarkus, and I would like to do it from scratch, so which I never do usually. And this is the function URL CDK only. What it means is it's just the infrastructure as code in Java Maven to ship the Quarkus, right? And if you have any questions, interrupt me. I cannot see you well. Yeah, then read, please. Can you read it loud? Why is Kubernetes recommended in private DC but not in the public cloud? Very good question. You are my man, so very good. So in a private data center, you need something to start and stop Docker containers. And in my eyes, you always should use something which is standard. And I would say Kubernetes is standard. And so Kubernetes is a cloud. But if you are in a public cloud and you deploy Kubernetes, now we have two clouds. And the question is, why? So this is exactly the same, I don't know, 5 to 10 years ago, there were projects who shipped Spring inside Whitefly. And they had two different dependency injection framework in one Java. I said, okay, why are you doing this? Use JBoss or Spring, but not both at the same time. Oh, thank you. I got a gift from GeeCON, a nice tablet here. Why one should not Maven clean? Oh, the Maven committers always tell me, Maven is so good, it recognizes the changes. Don't use Maven clean. Don't propagate the idea, you know. So you can also listen to the podcast. I have, so they are very picky with the Maven clean. So I'm very cautious not to clean too much, but maybe once a day, right? So, OK. So thank you for the questions. So now, set up function URL. This is a beautiful, this is a DSL, domain-specific language. And what I would like to do is to create a project CDK. What happens here? It just clones my GitHub projects, nothing else. And I think it renames the artifact ID. So now I expect, oh, this was too fast. I wanted to drink. OK, this now, what happened here? It created a Maven project with just AWS dependencies, which is a good thing, because if I go to AWS, I would only like to be depending on AWS, right? I mean, this is, if I'm already there, then I'm there. If I'm on Azure, I would use Bicep, for instance, for infrastructure as code. On AWS, I use Java CDK. So we have the entire stack, Pure Java 21 right now. OK, this is already prepared. So we could do this from scratch, but this is boring, actually. How it looks like is this. And this is what I made more beautiful yesterday. So what it is a serverless app. This was a builder pattern created by me. And it says serverless app hello Lambda. Function name is this, and where the project is, and the project name was Smog. And usually it is not that way. It comes packaged. But fact is, in all my projects, we have one Maven project comprising the infrastructure as code in the business code. And then every commit to GitHub, everything is deployed. So there is no distinction between infrastructure as code and the business code. OK? So walk through this. What this is this is just a builder pattern. You see, I'm just remembering what happened here. So what I could do here, I could say, OK, I like to run with one CPU and say configuration map of what was it? I think it was message, I hope. I don't know. We do it later, but with one CPU, for instance. And in the build, what happens here? In the build, so the function URL stack is created. And this function URL stack is what I usually use in my projects. It comes from CDK, Cloud Development Kit from AWS. And what it is similar to Terraform, but with state. So it means the state is maintained for you in my account. I can run it as often as I like. Everything is encrypted and already in the cloud. And it is declarative, similar to Kubernetes. It means it just, calculates the diffs, and the diffs are applied in the cloud. Okay, cool. So enough talking. Let's try to deploy the thing. And maybe this is a little bit, there's a lots of code. But if you take a look, the gist of the entire thing is actually this. This is all you need to deploy one single Java Lambda on AWS. It asks you, where is the code? Is this ARM or Intel? And this is Java 21. Now, what serverless means to me is, I only would like to care about the business logic, and I absolutely don't care about the infrastructure. So what means in this case, I'm not shipping Java. Java is already maintained by AWS, and if this were an Azure function, it would be maintained by Microsoft, which is pretty cool because we never have to patch the thing. It is patched by the cloud provider, how it should be, right? This is what I told you. If I'm in my private data center, I would like to have the complete control, but then I would like to build really great Java apps with, mission control and flight recorder, whatever possible, right? And if I go to the cloud, I would like to have the advantages of the cloud, and just focus on business logic and not fiddle with infrastructure as code. You did something special here? No. Not he deleted my code and now it doesn't work, right? So if it doesn't work, it's his fault. So he did something then. So, okay. Now we have this function URL. What function URL means is I get a Lambda with an ugly URI, but it's going to be cheap. In real-world projects, we are using HTTP API gateway to get a nicer DNS. Under heavy load, HTTP API gateway is too expensive, so then we use application load balancer. On the heavy load, it is cheaper, but if there is no load, you have to pay something for it. And you can use CloudFront if you need a better TLS certificates. You get the best one with CloudFront, but the deployment is slower. So what it means is the code never changes. And all the options I tell you right now depend on your budget and where it has to run, right? Does it have to run, in a public cloud or private cloud? So these are the configuration differences. Okay, still no questions. So the question will appear here, right? Yeah, because you see the QR code and this is hard to read. So, but okay, now we have. Where is my terminal? You see, his fault. So CDK. Oh, CDK. Oh, there was a mistake. Move. You see what happened? So I will just close that. Move CDK to here. It should be at the same level. So you have CDK project and the Smoke project. This is the business logic, and this is CDK. And what happens in real world, both project in a folder in GitHub, and on every commit, a pipeline runs, which by the way is also serverless, but maybe different talk. Okay, now switch to CDK folder. So what's inside? Build and deploy, don't ask, because otherwise ask should really. What happens here is it builds the Maven project, they say CDK deploy. This is basically all. And let's see, build and deploy, don't ask. And now it takes 60 seconds, hopefully. And yeah, this is because behind the scenes there is Node, but not from me, it was from AWS. You see, JavaScript was used and we get already red warnings. Java we used the entire time, was absolute everything green, right? Once Node.js, already problems. So now, okay. If I would speak at JavaScript conferences, of course I will opinion it differently, but here it's okay. So, so it takes a bit. Questions so far? Okay, what's cool actually is the following. I closed the IDE because this is Maven. What you can do, you can Maven install it in your repository, and you get reusable pieces of cloud infrastructure. You can say, I always use Lambda, or in some project I use Lambda with DynamoDB or with S3 or RDS, so you can prepare the entire setup. A new developer comes to the team, can just pull the dependency and run it, and the entire infrastructure is done. Okay. So this is the URI, the ugly one. And now we got, the famous cold start. So what you already saw, this is serious Quarkus with microprofile, dependency injection, JAX is not like a Pojo Lambda, right? So this is like a half a whitefly there, I would say. And let's see how slow it is. And it goes to Frankfurt right now. And this is cold start of 3.2 seconds. But the cold start is the coldest you can get. This was the very first call. So, and the subsequent calls are faster. This is the performance, and hopefully it also working. Not that I get 500 in. So this is the smoke from Frankfurt. Now it will take 30 seconds to 3 minutes, and it gets cold again. So what we can do, of course, the next first idea, you could have a cron job which pings the function every minute, and is never going to be cold, right? So for instance. So okay, question. So we deploy the Lambda, and we can take a look what happened in the cloud. So this is the cloud. There is CloudFormation. CloudFormation is the stack hello Lambda function URL, and you see what happened here. They are all the Lambda, the permissions or whatever was created. I could delete the stack here, and everything is gone. Then is a CloudWatch, which logs the, you see here the log groups. Convention, a log group is created with the name of the function. So, and there is a log stream, which is a file. If I go here, you see it was called. And we see the very first call was 2.5 seconds. So there was the round trip involved. But I would be charged for 300 milliseconds. And you can see the subsequent calls are 4 milliseconds. So this was the actual performance of Quarkus on AWS Lambda. What I showed you the very first slide, I assuming that the average call takes 100 milliseconds. This is 4 milliseconds. So with this, just to call a smoke is significantly cheaper than €9 a month. Okay, now I would like to show you a little bit more features. So this is just, playing. I could just pick and ship it, as from the console, open the console and upload the function.zip. So this would work. By the way, in a project, this is no kidding. In a project, they said, why I'm doing Java is not cloud native. And I say, why? And I say, yeah, we have to do Python. It's like, why you have to use Python? Java also works in the cloud. It's like, yeah, because what they're doing, they are copying, pasting the Python script to the Lambda console. And with Java, it's not possible because you need the compiler. It's like, yeah, but if you copy and paste a huge application to the console, to the text area, maybe, and after a few copies, you don't know what happened, right? You need something more repeatable, maybe a CI/CD pipeline or something like this. So this was a funny finding, or not so funny, interesting finding, right? So, cool. Now, where are we now? Function URL and CDK app. You have to see where am I? Function URL stack. And here the function is created. Here. And what I would like to do is, let's create a bucket. Bucket, or we could create DynamoDB table, but let's say bucket. And return something smoke-like, I don't know, smokes. Bucket. How is bucket in Polish? I don't even. How? So now we have the wiadro, and this is create this, and this is smoke wiadro. The wiadro is the problem. Has to be worldwide unique. So I would say this time it could even work, right? If I do smoke and wiadro, and GeeCON, it would work. But the best thing is, don't give it a name. And you could add tags to it, tags, to know like name tags, so you can find what it actually was. And I would like to make it completely private. This is read access public is false. It is default anyway, but I just wanted to have one configuration to look more seriously here. So build, and now it works, right? So hopefully. And what I can do now, I can ask for the Viadro. This is the smokes Viadro. And this is, of course, var Viadro. Now, hopefully it is created. Not yet, I have to run it, of course. But what I can do right now is I can say Viadro grant read and write function. Another cool story happens. We can actually code the entire permissions. So now a policy statement is created. What you have, in Terraform, you will need two pages of JSON, and here it is automatically created for you by AWS, and you can even remove permissions afterwards. But it's nice to have the permissions set up here. But we have another problem. The name of the Viadro is not going to be Viadro, I guess. It's something generated. So what I can do, I can ask for the name. And set it to Lambda, right? I can go now to the my Quarkus Lambda, and say add to configuration. This was created by me as a convenience, and say now the Viadro is bucket name. And what will happen is it will add this to environment entries of the Lambda. Okay, now take a look whether it works. And by the way, what I could do is to show you that this actually works is the following. I just closed back to Smog. And I have here, so I could, okay, we can just clone it. This was big, and say unconfigured, and just add it that you will see that it's actually working. If there's some time, we can even write, with SDK access to S3, but this is not as exciting. I would say this is a cool feature. Then you can code the permissions completely. So, okay. Now we have to package the Smog and then provision the Viadro, right? So there's actually no other conferences where they are provisioning the Smog and, packaging Smogs and provisioning Viadros, right? Cool title actually about Smogs and Viadros. Build and deploy, don't ask. Questions? Can you show what is actually inside function.zip? Inside function.zip, this function.zip is simpler than wars. So this is just all the classes there, and of course in this particular case, all the dependencies from Quarkus. So if this were just Pojo Lambda, which we are also doing without Quarkus. For asynchronous Lambda, this one has HTTP endpoint. And for the asynchronous Lambdas, it's just Pojo, there is nothing. So it's just this Java class. It's just one file is like 2K. In case of Quarkus, Quarkus with all the dependencies is inside. And why Maven, not Gradle? Because Maven is a little bit faster, and I'm not need Gradle because there is no, it will never change. I have one dependency, it doesn't matter what I'm using. But there's a really cool build tool. I also recorded a screencast about that. It's called BLD. This is a pure Java build tool. It's interesting. And in Java 22, it will be possible to run, without compiling, or is it already possible? And it's also a very interesting tool by Oracle guys called Bach, like, the composer Bach. take a look at this. So this may be what I will use in future, but Gradle, I don't need the power. So, is it a good idea to building Lambda as a Quarkus native image? I don't think so, because if you first, I mean, the Corretto Lambda is fast enough, and by the way, we can run it. Cold start again, which is a good sign. And as you can see, it seems to work. Smog, and you see then this is the name of the S3. It's not properly formatted, but the entire thing worked, right? So this was this is already no more that trivial. And why Lambda not as a native image? First, it doesn't matter. It will be even a little bit more expensive because the native image is a little bit slower than pure Java, and startup time happens once, but you call it subsequently. But the main issue with native image is you will have to maintain it by yourself. So the cool story is here, Amazon maintains Java. If there is a Java patch, I don't care. With native image, you will have to rebuild it by yourself and redeploy it to all your runtime. So the question why, right? So, and no, the bucket is not recreated. So if you rerun it, you tell me this now. So as the bucket name is generated, would the bucket be recreated after every deploy of the Lambda? No, because what matters is this one. If I change this, then the bucket is going to be recreated. So this is so-called logical ID. You should not change that. If you change that, we get 2 buckets. But this is actually pretty smart, but you should not change the logical IDs. What Visual Studio Code plugins are using for this kind of development in Java? Almost nothing. So what I have here is the extension from Microsoft and Red Hat. I always forget, you know, what's if you pull from Microsoft, it will also pull the Red Hat extensions. I think, Martin, am I right? Yes, the Quarkus. Huh? I mean, he uses IDEA. He doesn't use his own Red Hat stuff. But I mean, there is a Red Hat and Microsoft plugin, and there's Oracle plugin. Oracle is actually NetBeans based. So if I would use Oracle plugin, it would be NetBeans. And the Microsoft plugin is actually Eclipse language server behind the scenes. And for AWS, there's an AWS extension, which is pretty cool. What I could do if I would connect, yeah, token expired. AWS. Oh, it's getting worse and worse. AWS. Connect to AWS. Exactly. And let's try this one. Okay, the token is, but what I would see here, I could access directly the logs, which is nice, but I will have to restart the IDE. Okay. Now the question is, what to do? How much time do you have? 11 minutes. So let's try at least to set up the SDK that we can call the S3 plugin, or ask me questions. So this is now more or less trivial. But again, I think the main, what I didn't show you. Lambda. So this is the Lambda. I actually not use the console at all. This is the interesting part. So configuration. There are environment variables. You see this is the Viadro with this. So this seems to work, right? But the cool story is the permissions. This is what I wanted to show you. So CloudWatch was already created, and this was created by grant, read, and write. So you will have to write it by hand. And what's cool is it absolutely hard codes this to the Viadro bucket, which is auto-generated. So without infrastructure as code, in code reviews, would I see developers say, okay, this is too much, so let's go with a star, right? And star is like do everything. So actually this is forget about permissions. Yeah. What's also cool is, cool, really useful, if you use the source code, right? If you have source code first and don't use the console, if we get an audit, it is enough to audit the source code because the entire permission, how it is set up, is in the source code, coded in the source code. So infrastructure as Java code works eigentlich is German, is actually pretty cool, pretty good. Okay. Any questions? No questions. So to access from Quarkus, and one a very common question is, how many endpoints can I have as Lambda? And the answer is as many as you like. So there is one get, but you can have as many paths. It doesn't actually matter because what Quarkus does, it reads the HTTP event and calls the JAX-ORS path behind the scenes. So you can have as many URIs as you like. So in some of my projects, we have hundreds of endpoints in one Lambda. And we call it monolithic Lambda, and I think it is for some projects even best practice, because if you use Java, there is no downside. You can have as many Java bytecode classes as you like. What you should not exaggerate is with additional dependencies, because it makes everything bigger and then, of course, slower. Okay, now S3. Let's say we would really like to call the bucket. So how to do that? So I need another dependency. And it starts with software. This is unusual. So I always forget that. Amazon AWS SDK, but the artifact ID is simpler. It's S3. So with that, everything is set up. So what I will have to do is here, I will say, OK, S3 client, client equals S3 client dot create. And I'm in the wrong IDE. I have to go back to here, smoke. Okay. Here I get code completion, so I was in the wrong project. So hopefully. I think I added it in wrong project, right? You were supposed to help me. I forgot the version. 2. How to manage, a very good question. So how to manage multiple environments in this setup. So it is already managed because it picks whatever account is set up. So if I would run it with, so the only difference between the different stages is the account number. So you can hard code the account number and just keep it in your environment. And in the CI/CD pipeline, there is one environment entry, I think CDK underscore deployment or something. And if you set it, you can actually say to which account you would like to deploy. So the multi-stage is already built in. So it is, yeah, because the only difference between stages is the account number. Okay, thank you. But now, hopefully, it will work. So the S3 client is now imported with a version, and I can import that. And so now the question is how you can test this actually. So I know already some adventures to, I don't know, emulations, cloud emulations, whatever. The cool story is with Quarkus. I just kill everything. And I can say Maven Quarkus dev. And it should work. So what it means is I can actually build the Java app or run or use the Java applications as we did in 1995, no Docker, nothing. I can actually run it. If I would access the S3 client and I have a cloud connection, it would use my local permissions and call the cloud. So there is nothing else to do. And so what it means is you get actually better developer experience in serverless than with Docker because you can directly connect with the debugger and walk through your application. Okay, now message. This would work get, I think get request, get object request, builder. I have to specify the bucket, and this is the Viadro, and then key. And I have to make up the key. Let's say the key is just the smoke. It doesn't matter. And I hope that's all. So and then I have the request. It is a bit strange, the API, but it's strange for everyone. So the S3 is almost a standard. There is a min.io. It is even on the I forgot what the backup servers, which you can buy for home, is also they also ship with S3 API. Oracle also has S3 API, so you don't have to talk to AWS to have S3. Okay, and then I use the client. And by the way, the application scoped. Why? This is a Lambda, and if we get multiple parallel requests, we get multiple JVM instances, and every JVM instance is independent, of course, so it doesn't make sense to use request scoped here. So we need a singleton. And I could even make it here static, but I mean, this is almost static, so I don't have to, but I could to make this static, right? And the client doesn't need the configuration. In the cloud, it is configured properly, and locally, it will use my, my local environment. How to share S3 information with another project, for example, Lambda. So in this particular case, what I will do is I would use here, where is it? In function URL, wait a sec. Function URL, the bucket is created here. This is the bucket name. It will look like a string parameter. And then from string parameter name, and what we will create, so-called a key value store in called system manager parameter store, I hope. The cool story is free, and the permissions will be created here, and another Lambda, we can just pick it. So this would be the cross Lambda configuration by another Lambda, right? Oh, and also a very important thing, usually in such a project, you have only one Lambda, which is HTTP Lambda or synchronous Lambda. All other Lambdas can be asynchronous, and you can just share it like this. So in this project, I could create 50 Lambdas and just pass to as env entry. So I'm assuming in the question that the other Lambda runs in another application. So this was my assumption. If it's the same application, so I just passed the hash map, right? Okay, 2 minutes to go. So I don't think I will completely make it. But at least, you know, we can say client get object. I pass the request. What I get back is read all bytes, and what I get back are the bytes. And if I have the bytes with Java 21, I can say return new string with the bytes. And maybe the entire thing as well here. And this is basically a serverless code, serverless code to fetch an object from bucket. How are you versioning and deploying the app for green-blue deployments to run 2 versions at a time? So the good story is I have the simplified version. So it means Lambda is always versioned, but I'm running the latest. Blue-green deployments are built in without any additional effort. And what you can have alias versions, and you can run them always at the same time. So this is actually, which is annoying at development, but later you can have it for sure. So if I deploy the Lambda in production is active and then is replaced by the latest version. But if you would like to have snap start, which is something like CRAC, but don't worry, CRAC stands for how it's called? Coordination at checkpoint. C, what is C? CRAC? Who knows that? Coordinated restore at checkpoint, exactly. I always would like to say coordinated resource, but coordinated restore at checkpoint. Technology from Azul Systems now is available in all OpenJDK. What it does, it freezes the state of the JVM on your disk and starts faster. It's built to Lambda, it's called Snap Start. If you would like to use Snap Start, you will have to use versions, which is annoying. So the versions are already built in, which is a feature and not a feature, right? This is very good for production, and development. Development is a little bit annoying, but this could work. So if I will launch it, it will break because there's nothing in a bucket and I don't have the permissions here. And I need here some exceptions, of course. You see a lot of exceptions, but we can always make it nicer this way. And in the real world project, I will throw web application exception, and the web application exception would translate itself to HTTP status code. Like here, return, throw new bad request exception. Smoke is sleeping in Viadro. So this one, right? So okay, so what is missing is the put object request, but yeah, my time is over. But we would manage this, but this was trivial, this put and get. I mean, this is just, you will find it, everywhere. But I think what interesting here is state management is done. Everything is the shared responsibility model about the entire infrastructure is actually maintained by AWS. Java is patched by AWS. You can fully implement Java and fully focus on Java. There's no YAML, nothing. You saw this. So this is absolute pure Java, Java 21. And you can actually, the first time in the history of Java, prove to management, then we can actually save serious money, which is quite interesting, right? That because all the years we did something, and no one knew whether it is worse or whatever. And by the way, what's also interesting, the invoice looks completely different because we are paying per gigabyte second. So we will find, this Smoke Lambda consumes more cache or more CPU than the other one. So for management, it's more transparent. So what I learned, that if you're running Kubernetes, you have installed additional tools to find out what happens inside the Kubernetes. So yeah, but this is not required in serverless. So thank you a lot. I really enjoying the conference. And because of my mistakes showing too many slides, Prague is canceled. But maybe next year with even less slides in Krakow again, right? So thank you a lot and see you next time. If you like stickers, I have a lot of stickers and no tickets. So see you next time. I will check the code to my AirHacks repository, but delete it in 3 days. So if you would like to have it, I just commit it right now. You can clone it. And adambin/airhacks is the name. If you have questions, I will be around for 1 hour and 2.